get this baby blue moment. Break down this outfit for me. And the butterfly.
Okay, well...
even when she tried to hide it. It got to the point where it was worse for the kids to see us together, she admitted. Her daughter's words gave her permission to finally choose herself, and in doing so, to choose a better future for her children. With the launch of her Misspelling podcast, Tori didn't just open a door into her life, she blew the walls down. The show has become her confessional, a place for unedited truth-telling. But two confessions, in particular, have been absolutely stunning. The intimate details of her divorce and the shocking reveal about her first true love. The podcast quickly became a real-time diary of her separation. Tori shared the loneliness she felt admitting she and Dean slept in separate rooms long before the split. She painted a picture of a partnership that had become just a co-parenting arrangement, with no real connection left between them. In one of the most bizarre confessions, Tori revealed how her public and private lives had uncomfortably merged. She admitted that Dean had once called her "my little Donna Martin" during intimate moments, referring to her famous Beverly Hills 90210 character. While she first found it flattering that he had a crush on her TV persona, the request felt deeply unsettling. The podcast also became a place for her to process the trauma. She shared her deepest insecurities, admitting with painful honesty, "I don't feel worth loving. That's the truth." This raw vulnerability showed a woman grappling with self-worth after a lifetime in the spotlight. While the divorce details were shocking, it was a confession about her past that really left people speechless. On her podcast, Tori finally revealed who she considers the first love of my life, her Beverly Hills 90210 co-star, Brian Austin Green. Fans had loved the on-screen romance between their characters, Donna and David, but they never knew how much art was imitating life. Tori confessed that she and Brian had a brief but intense romance back in the 90s. She was so head over heels that she cheated on her then-boyfriend with him. The relationship was a whirlwind of young love, but a recent conversation brought its real meaning to light. As she was talking to Brian about the pain of her divorce, she found herself making a startling admission. "I made some commentary like, 'No, I was in love. Maybe I wasn't in love. I'm not sure. No one's broken my heart since you,' she revealed, she told him. It was a confession 30 years in the making. The story got even more complicated when they talked about how they didn't speak for 18 years after the show ended. Tori tearfully recalled their last conversation, where she was terrified they would lose touch. The separation, she said, felt almost like going through a divorce. They both admitted that their relationships at the time, Tori with actor Vincent, Young and Brian with co-star Vanessa Marcil, had driven them apart. Now they've reconnected and are close friends, but this revelation recontextualized Tori's entire romantic history, suggesting the ghost of that first heartbreak had lingered for far longer than anyone ever knew. The flood of confessions from Tori's podcast has definitely made waves. The reaction has been a mix of shock, sympathy, and a whole new level of respect. For decades, Tori was often seen as a caricature, the rich girl, the reality star. But her honesty has forced people to see her as a survivor, a mom, and a woman, dealing with very real struggles. Fans who grew up with her have rallied around her on social media. By using her own podcast, she has effectively bypassed the tabloid machine that controlled her story for so long. Dean McDermott, meanwhile, has been focused on his sobriety and has publicly taken responsibility for his part in the marriage's end. Sources say their co-parenting relationship is cordial and getting better. But the biggest impact has been on Tori herself. At 52, she's starting a new chapter defined by her own voice. The radical honesty seems to be a form of therapy. She's also exploring new projects, like a recent run on Dancing with the Stars, with encouragement from Brian Austin Green. What's next for Tori Spelling? She's reclaiming her story one episode at a time. More importantly, she seems to be finding a sense of peace that has escaped her for years. The heartbreaking confessions have become a catalyst for a powerful transformation. The girl born into a Hollywood dynasty is finally becoming the woman she was always meant to be. Unapologetically, resiliently, and finally, freely, herself. Tori. Spelling's life has always been public, but her recent honesty has shown a side of her that was hidden for years. It brings up a big question about fame and telling your own story. Do you think Tori's decision to use her podcast changes how people see her? Does this kind of raw honesty change the way we look at celebrities? We want to know what you think. Let us know in the comments below. Tori Spelling's story has always been more complicated than the headlines let on. It's a story of incredible privilege and deep struggle, of a life lived under a microscope where every mistake was a public spectacle. For years, her narrative was controlled by tabloids, reality TV producers, and a world that saw her as a character, not a person. But at 52, Tori has taken back the pen. Her Misspelling podcast is her declaration of independence. Through her painfully honest confessions about her marriage, her kids, and the lingering ghost of a first love, she has shattered the image that defined her. She has shown the world the messy, complicated, and resilient woman who was there all along. This isn't just about airing secrets. It's about reclaiming a life. It's about a woman finding her voice after decades of being spoken for. In sharing her pain, she has found her power. Tori Spelling's story is no longer just about being Aaron Spelling's daughter or Dean McDermott's wife. It is the story of a survivor, a mother, and a woman who, after a lifetime of being misunderstood, is finally, fearlessly telling her own truth. Some stars are born directly into the Hollywood spotlight, their lives practically scripted from day one. Tori Spelling was one of them. As the daughter of TV giant Aaron Spelling, her path seemed paved with gold. For decades, she played the parts everyone expected. The sweet high schooler Donna Martin, the reality TV wife, and the girl in the tabloid headlines. But what happens when the script runs out and the person behind the persona finally decides to speak from the heart? At 52, that's exactly what Tori Spelling is doing. With just a microphone and a lifetime of stories she's never told, she launched a podcast that feels less like a media project and more like a public reckoning. In a series of raw, unfiltered confessions, she's taking apart the image the world built for her, revealing the painful and complicated truths she's kept hidden for years. From the gut-wrenching final moments of her marriage to a stunning admission about the man she calls her first true love, Tori is holding nothing back. The result has left fans and Hollywood speechless. This isn't just a comeback, it's the story of a woman finally claiming her own narrative no matter what it takes. So, I just filed for divorce. Those 6 little words, spoken with a mix of exhaustion and relief on her new podcast, Misspelling, brought an entire era to a close. For nearly 2 decades, the world watched the roller coaster marriage of Tori Spelling and Dean McDermott. But after 18 years, 5 kids, and more headlines than you can count, what was the one secret she'd held on to for over 30 years? What could she confess about a different man, from a different time, that would reveal a heartbreak she never truly got over? At 52, Tori's story isn't just about a divorce. It's about a lifetime of secrets finally seeing the light of day. On March 29, 2024, the rumors that had followed Tori Spelling and Dean McDermott for years finally became a legal reality. Tori officially filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. The court papers listed their separation date as June 17, 2023, a date with a particularly sharp sting. It was the same day Dean had announced their split to the world in a now-deleted Instagram post, a move that blindsided Tori and turned a private heartbreak into a public spectacle. The filing was the official end, but the emotional damage had been piling up for years. In the legal documents, Tori's requests spoke volumes. She asked for sole physical custody of their 5 children, Liam, Stella, Hattie, Finn, and Beau, but was willing to share joint legal custody. More telling, she requested spousal support from McDermott while asking the court to block him from receiving any from her, a clear attempt to draw a financial line after years of money troubles. The podcast episode where she revealed the news was incredibly vulnerable. She recorded herself in real time, her voice shaking but steady, as she shared the weight of it all. "I just said the words that I've said in my head for like 16 years, she confessed. This wasn't a sudden implosion, but the final step after years of feeling trapped. She even recorded the tense phone call to Dean to let him know the papers were filed, a moment so raw it felt like listening in on the final, painful chapter of their story. Friends said this had been a long time coming, but for the public and for Tori, filing for divorce was a seismic event. The curtain didn't fall on a Hollywood set, but on an 18-year marriage born from scandal, lived on reality TV, and now ending with a flurry of legal documents and heartbreaking audio confessions. To understand the end, you have to go back to the very dramatic beginning. The love story of Tori Spelling and Dean McDermott was practically made for the tabloids. They met in 2005 on the set of a Lifetime movie, and the chemistry was instant. The only problem, they were both married to other people. The night they met, they started an affair, setting the tone for their entire relationship. They quickly left their spouses and dove into a whirlwind romance. Less than a month after her divorce was finalized, Tori and Dean eloped in a private ceremony in Fiji on May 7, 2006. Almost immediately, they turned their love story into a business, launching reality shows like Tori and Dean in Love that chronicled their chaotic life with their growing family. For a while, they were a brand, even renewing their vows in 2010 and insisting that divorce was never going to happen for them. But even on TV, you could see the red flags. The relationship was built on a shared betrayal, a shaky foundation from the start. Tori later confessed that things changed dramatically after her father, Aaron Spelling, passed away in 2006. She said that after his death, and as she became pregnant, with their first child, the relationship was never the same. The rebellious passion that brought them together started to crack under the pressure of parenthood, money problems, and unresolved issues. The escape they thought they'd found in each other soon became its own kind of cage. For a marriage lived in front of cameras, it was only a matter of time before the public saw its decline. The first major crack appeared in December 2013 when Dean McDermott cheated on Tori. The woman involved sold her story, and she claimed Dean told her he and Tori had a sexless marriage. The fallout was immediate. Dean admitted to the affair and checked into rehab for what he later described as sex addiction. Instead of stepping back to heal privately, Tori leaned in. She launched a new reality series, True Tori, a raw docu-series that followed the aftermath of the infidelity. It was car crash television, uncomfortable to watch, but impossible to look away from as she confronted Dean in therapy and debated whether to leave him. He expressed his shame on camera, saying, "You were at a Christmas event and I was around. That's disgusting." Despite the humiliation, they stayed together, but the trust was gone. The affair was followed by years of crippling financial problems. They were hit with massive tax liens and sued for unpaid credit card bills. Tori's inheritance from her father's massive estate was famously only about $800,000, leaving her without the safety net people assumed she had. Her own mother, Candy Spelling, admitted to helping them financially, but the struggles just never seemed to end. By 2021, the signs of a real rift were obvious. Tori admitted she and Dean were sleeping in separate bedrooms. She was seen without her wedding ring, and they stopped acknowledging their anniversaries online, a big deal for a couple who built their brand on public affection. The cracks had become chasms, and it was no longer a question of if the marriage would end, but when. The last few years of the marriage were a slow, painful unraveling. The family's housing situation became an alarming headline. In the summer of 2023, after finding a severe mold problem in their home, Tori and her 5 kids had to move out. What followed was a shocking period of instability, as they were photographed staying in cheap motels and at one point even living out of an RV. The absolute breaking point came in June 2023. Dean posted an announcement on his Instagram that he and Tori had separated. He deleted it a little while later, but the damage was done. Tori was completely blindsided. On her podcast, she described the explosive fight that happened right before his post. She recalled a beast-like argument where Dean allegedly said something designed to cut deep. "I'm so sick of this. I've been picking up Tori Spelling's pieces for 18 years. For her, that was it. In the months that followed, the separation became a harsh reality with paparazzi snapping photos of tense moments between them. Dean later gave an interview to the Daily Mail, taking full responsibility for the marriage's failure. He admitted his drinking and drug use had gotten out of control, terrifying their children. "All Tori's ever done to this day is want me to be happy and healthy, and I inflicted a lot of damage and pain on that woman," he said. "I took something that was really beautiful, and I just tore it down year after year, day after day." While his confession was a step toward accountability, for Tori, it was too little, too late. She had spent years trying to hold the family together, and she was done picking up the pieces. For any couple, divorce is hard, but with 5 kids involved, the stakes are so much higher. For years, Tori admitted she stayed with Dean for one main reason: the children. She wanted to give them the 2-parent household she grew up with, and believed having their father at home was the right thing to do, no matter how bad things got. Looking back, she sees it differently now. "I think that kept me in the relationship far too long," she confessed. "And it ultimately, I feel, did a disservice to my kids. The toxicity had become impossible to hide. The kids witnessed the constant fighting and instability." Tori shared that Dean's drinking scared them, something he later confirmed. In one heartbreaking story, Tori said she told their son Finn that his dad was going away to get help for his anger. Finn's innocent response was devastating. "I hope they have surgery on him and they take out his anger." The children weren't just watching the conflict. They were being hurt by it. The real turning point, the moment that gave Tori the final push, came from her own daughter. On her podcast, an emotional Tori recalled a conversation with her then 13-year-old Hattie. Tentatively, Hattie asked her a question that got right to the point. She asked her mom if she was ready to talk about something, then asked, "Have you ever considered what it would be like to be with someone else and not dad and get treated right?" That question changed everything. It made Tori realize her kids didn't need her to be a martyr. They needed her to be happy. They saw her pain,